Hey Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking, our Captain Clyde's MTG. Sorry I had to delay this video, but the important video about Aftermath was needed to come out first, so I had to delay this one a day. Because I think saving money is probably a little more important than just talking about spoilers. So, without further ado, let's talk about March of the Machines Commander deck. So, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 peeps, and here we go. We've got several decks to choose from. I've got these, to my best of my ability, condensed into cards that will be inside certain decks. Um, for what that's worth. This particular set here, I don't think this is an actual deck. I think these are actual just extra cards. Don't quote me on that, but here we go. So up here at the top here, we've got Gorogoro and Saturo. Pretty good card. Red, black, blue, mythic, 3/4. Whenever one more creature you control enter the battlefield this turn, deal combat damage to a player. Get a 5/5 red dragon spirit token. So all about the haste decks. And for a red and one, creatures you control gain haste. So they just does it all for you for just 3 mana. Pretty good card. Slimefoot and Squee, another pretty good one. That's a red, green, and black. Whenever Slimefoot and Squee enter the battlefield or attack, create a 1/1 green sapling token. And then for the 4 mana, you get to sacrifice sapling, return Squee, and up to one other target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. That's pretty amazing. On the simple fact, you get 2 creatures for sacrificing a Saproling. Will this make Saproling decks a bigger thing? Probably. We have Katala and Lear, blue, white, and a green for a 3/3. Whenever you cast a human spell, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback to end of turn. That flashback is equal to its mana cost. This makes everything a Snapcaster Mage, which is just absurd. We have over here something for the Painbow. Begin the invasion. One of every color, WUBRG and X. Switch library from X battle cards with different names. Put them on a battlefield tap. We talked about that one. We talked about Infernal Sovereign. 2 black and 4 for a 6/6 flying trampler. Skip your draw step. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card, lose a life. Big on the combo side. We have Elspeth's Talent. 2 white and 2 enchant Planeswalker of all things. The enchant Planeswalker has +1, create 3 1/1 white spirit creature tokens, just like the old original Elspeth card that was super powerful in standard. Whenever you activate a loyalty ability of an enchanted Planeswalker, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance to end of turn. So not only can you make 3 1/1s, but if they don't kill them the next turn, they all become 3/3 Vigis while you make 3 more. This is absurd. Teferi's Talent. 3 blue and 3 enchant Planeswalker. This one says it looks like a -12. You get an emblem that says you may activate loyalty abilities of Planeswalkers you control on any player's turn. Anytime you could cast an instant. Whenever you draw a card, put a loyalty counter on enchanted Planeswalker. That is also busted. We have Liliana's Talent, only 2 black to enchant a Planeswalker. It says -4. Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. Whenever a creature does combat damage to enchanted Planeswalker, destroy that creature. Is that really a -4? Wow, is that absurd? Um, that's just badonkers. Let me recheck that because -4 for that seems a bit much. If you would, a bit. How do they call it these days in the kitty realms? A bit. Is it sus or a bit extra? Is that the word we're looking for here? Whatever you want to call it. So, oh, it's -3. My bad. It's not -4. That's so much better. So much better. So anyway, we have Rowan's Talent, 2 red and 2. The enchanted Planeswalker gets +1 up to one target creature gets +2/+0. Gains first strike, trampled in a turn. Whenever you activate a loyalty ability of enchanted Planeswalker, copy that ability. You may choose new targets. That is absurd. You have Vivian's Talent, 2 green and 1. Excuse me. It says here, Enchanted Planeswalker has a +1. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, reveal a creature card from among them. A lot of these are just one of the plus abilities from most Planeswalkers you can stack onto other Planeswalkers from the looks of it. And whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a loyalty counter on a Planeswalker. Also absurd. Then also down here at the bottom we have the Firemane Commando, white and 3 for a 4/3 Flying Angel. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. Whenever another player attacks with 2 or more creatures, they draw a card if none of those creatures attacked you. So that's some shenanigans if I've ever seen it. All right, so now let's get into the actual decks. We have the Gimbal Gremlin deck. So we have Gimbal. He's a red, blue, green, and 2 commander. It's a 4/4. Artifacts you control have trample. Beginning of your end step, create a 0/0 red goblin artifact creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of differently named artifact tokens you control. So it's at least a +1/+1. So at least it doesn't just die. But interesting nonetheless. Also, we have Rashimi and Ragavan. Same colors and 1 for a 2/4. Whenever the first spell each turn, exile top card of opponent's life. Whenever you cast your first spell during each of your turns, exile top card of target opponent's library and create a treasure token. You may then cast the exile card without paying its mana cost if it's a spell with mana value less than the number of artifacts you control. If you don't cast it this way, you may cast it this turn. Wow, is that really good? That's like Ragavan that doesn't have to hit. That's going to be a very popular commander. We have the Cutthroat Navigator, red and blue and 2 for a 4/3 with Parlay. Whenever it says here when it attacks, each player reveals top card of their library. For each non-land card revealed this way, create a tapped treasure token. Then each player draws a card. Very interesting. Dance with Calamity, a red and 7. Shuffle your library as many times as you choose. You may exile a top card of your library. If the total mana value of the cards exiled this way is 13 or less, you may cast any number of spells from among those cards without paying their mana cost. Again, very interesting. Because it says, as many times as you choose, you may exile top card of your library. If the total mana value of those cards exiled this way is 13 or less, you may cast any number. So you can't get higher than 13 and cast them. So you may possibly, if you exile a bunch of cards and you go above 13, then you've just wasted your whole turn. So it's a very interesting card. Hedron Detonator, red and 2 for a 2/3. When artifact enters the battlefield, your control, the detonator deals 1 damage to target opponent. You can tap it and sacrifice 2 artifacts to exile top card of your library. You may play this turn. Not too bad. We have the Pain Distributor. It's funny. Red and 2 for a 2/3. The Menace. Whenever the player casts their first spell each turn, they create a treasure token. That's pretty good. But it's for every player. And whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to that player. So that lets them have the treasures, but also deal damage to themselves for tapping it. So it's kind of a cool thing. We have the Schema Thief, blue and 3 for a 3/3 flyer. It deals combat damage to a player. You get to trade a token. That's a copy of target artifact that player controls. Again, very good card. We have Path of the Animist, green and 3. Search your library for the 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. And then it has the Will of the Planeswalkers. Starting with you, each player votes for Planeswalker or Chaos. If Planeswalkers gets more votes, Planeswalk. If Chaos gets more votes or the votes is tied, Chaos ensues. That's for the Plane Chase stuff if you guys aren't aware of it. So anyway, Sand-Stepped War Riders, green and 3 for a 4/4 trample. At the beginning of combat on your turn, bolster X, where X is the number of differently named artifact tokens you control. Interesting. Because it just makes your small stuff bigger. So that's that commander deck. Very interesting choice in things. We've got bolster, we've got making treasures, dealing damage, lots of free casting. Very interesting for that deck. So moving on to the next deck here, we have a Khalsa deck, the Broken Halo. It's white, red, and blue. So for 6, you get a 5/4 with Convoke as a commander, which is pretty cool to have a Convoking commander. Flying Vigilance Haste, whenever you cast another spell that has Convoke, scry 2 and draw a card, which is pretty badonkers. Then you have Saint Traft and Rem Corliss. So, wow, Geist of Saint Traft. We have white, red, blue for a 3/4. Whenever it becomes tapped, create a 1/1 red human creature token. If this is the first time this ability resolved this turn, if it's the second time, you create a 1/1 blue spirit creature token with flying. If it's the third time, you create a 4/4 angel with flying. Whenever you cast a spell that has Convoke, you get to untap the Saint. So basically, you convoke to make more guys to convoke more things out because the guys come in. Because the token comes in untapped, and you can use it to convoke more things. This is just a big convoke deck. Again, Flock Chaser Phantom has Convoke. blue, white, and 4 for 5/5, flying, vigilance. When it attacks, the next spell you cast this turn has Convoke. So this is the Convoke. Kasla is the Convoke deck. Wildfire Awakener, where white, red, 1, X for a 3/2 Convoke. When it enters the battlefield, create X/1/1 red elemental creature tokens, where that is the number of creatures that have become tapped. It deals X damage to target player. Amazing. Mist Meadow Vanisher, white or blue, and 2 for a 3/2. Whenever it becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent. Return it to card of the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the end step. So again, another weird thing for ETB triggers with convoking stuff. Nesting Dovehawk, white and 3 for a 2/2 flying. At the beginning of any combat on your turn, you populate, which you just create a token that's a copy of another token, so you can convoke more. Whenever a creature token enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on the Dovehawk. Pretty good for 4. Path of the Ghost Hunter, white, 1, and X. It says create X/1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. It also has the will, which means if everybody loves Planeswalker or Chaos, Planeswalker gets more votes, you get to Planeswalk. If it's Chaos, Chaos ensues. Another great thing to make stuff to convoke with. Thank God that spell doesn't convoke itself. Wand of the World Soul, white and 2. When it enters the battlefield tap. You can tap it for a white. And for tapping it, the next spell you would cast this turn has Convoke. Very interesting. Deluxe Dragster, blue and 4 for a 4/3. Can't be blocked except by vehicles. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target instant sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell will be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. That's an amazing card. Thank God it's 5. It would really get out of hand. But, I mean, if you use the wand and make it convoke, it comes out really quick and then all of a sudden punches somebody in the face and chaos ensues. Giggity. Alright, moving on to the next deck. Next, we have the Brimaz deck, which is Brimaz Blight of Oreska. He is a black-white deck. Black-white 2 for a 3/4. Whenever you cast Phyrexian creature or artifact creature, you get to incubate X, where X is the spell's mana. Beginning of your end step, if a Phyrexian died under your control this turn, you get to proliferate, which means your stuff just gets bigger. So it's a proliferate slash incubate deck. So we also have in this deck Moria and Treasure. Black, white, and 3 for a 4/5 flyer. Whenever you cast a historic spell, return target non-land permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Okay. We have Path of the Schemer, black and 4. Each player mills 2 cards, puts a creature card from the graveyard onto the battlefield under their control. If it's an artifact in addition to other types. It also has Will of the Planeswalkers, where you either plane shift or go to Chaos. That's an amazing revival spell. We have the Blight Titan, which is a Phyrexian giant. 2 black and 4 for a 6/6 Death Toucher. The Blight Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, mill 2 cards, incubate X, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So this deck is based off of proliferate, incubate, and mill, it looks like. A lot of things going on here. Darksteel Splicer, white and 6 for a 1/1. Whenever this or another non-token Phyrexian enters the battlefield under your control, create X/3/3 Cuddleless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature tokens, where X is the number of opponents you have. Golems are indestructible. This is a great card if you're playing in groups. It's going to be god-awful if you're playing one-on-one. We have Vulpine Harvester, white and 3 for a 3/3. Whenever one more Phyrexians enter the battlefield under your control, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield if its mana value is less than or equal to the total power. Pretty good. Exercise the Imperfect, 2 white and 1. Exile target non-land permanent if its controller gets to incubate X, where X is its mana value. Almost like a weird swords, I guess. Filigree Fector, white and 3 for a 1/1. Enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it of any number of target creatures and a charge counter on it of any number. Okay, hang on. So enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. With a +1/+1 counter on. So when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of any number of target creatures. So that could be anybody's, including him and yours and your opponents. And a charge counter on each of any number of target artifacts, which could be anybody else's or your own, including this, because it's an artifact. So you can get a +1/+1 and a charge counter. Sacrifice another artifact to proliferate. That is weird. So what does the charge counter do then? Weird. We have a living weapon, the Bitter Thorn. Bitter Thorn Nissa's Animus. So 3 colorless for legendary artifact equipment. It's a living weapon. So it's an 0/0 creature. The equipped creature is +1/+1. So for 3 mana, you get for 3 mana, you get a 1/1. Whenever the equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it on a battlefield, tap, then shuffle. This will be really good in group commander when you can swing at people for 1 damage who have nothing to block with, just to get land out of your deck. So that's a very interesting deck. Mainly, it looks like proliferate and incubate is the main thing in this deck. Next, we have the deck of Sidor Jabari of Zhalfir. It's an Esper deck, black, blue, and white, and 1. You get a 4/3. It has Imminence. Whenever you attack with 1 or more knights, and this thing is in the command zone or on the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. So basically, you just get it. Flying, first strike, 4/3. When it deals combat damage to player, return target knight creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's absurd. So that's really good as a commander. Alindria and Azora. For 6 mana, you get a 6/6 flying ward 2. When it attacks, you may pay 1 Esper mana and X. If you do, draw X cards. So 4 mana draws you 1, 5 draws you 2, so forth and so on. Beginning of each end step, you may pay for life. If you do, create a number of 1/1 black vampire knight creature tokens with lifelink equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn. That thing's absurd. You could just, if you lay it for 6, you're like, I'm on a swing and draw 3 cards and pay 4 life and make 3 1/1s with lifelink. And then swing and gain 3 life and then draw 3 cards and pay 4 life. So basically paying 1 life to make 3 1/1s every turn, and you're drawing 3 cards. It's just, yeah, okay. So Chivalric Alliance, a white and 1 enchantment. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. God, that is going to be good. 2, discard a card, create a knight that's blue and white and has vigilance. This is going to be a very powerful card. I expect you should probably pick these up before they get out of hand. Conjurer's Mantle, white and 1. Equipped creature is +1/+1, has Vigi. Equips for 1. When the equipped creature attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a card that shares a creature type with that creature. From among them, put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom random order. Not bad. Herald of Hoofprint. Since everything here is a knight, you're just going to look at the top 6 and pick a knight. Herald of Hoofbeats, blue and 3 for a 3/3. Oh, it's got horsemanship, which can't be blocked by creatures without it. Other knights you control have horsemanship. This will just let you kill somebody when you swing. Path of the Enigma, blue and 4, sorcery. Target player draws 4 cards, and it has the Will of the Planeswalkers we talked about before. Exsanguinatory Cavalier, woof, what a name. Black and 2 for a 2/3 knight that has Menace lifelink, and whenever a knight you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature and create a blood token. That's pretty cool. Locthwain Lancer, black and 4 for a 5/5 menace. Whenever a non-token knight you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. You draw a card. So this is just simply a knight deck that just puts more knights on the field until you kill your opponent. It does have a little draw stuff in there, but that's with every deck. This is mainly just a knights deck that just makes more knights if that's your kind of jam. And obviously draws buttloads of cards. Next we have the Bright Palm and Soul Awakener deck. So this is a Fox Shaman. It's white, green, red, and 1. 4/3 has backup. Whenever a creature attacks alone, double the number of +1/+1 counters on that creature. That creature can't be blocked by creature's power 2 or less. Okay, so immediately looks like this is the backup deck and / proliferate because of counters, or a counter deck. Next we have Shalaya and Halar. Same cost for a 3/3 flying Vigi. Whenever 1 or more counters are put onto a creature you control, it deals that much damage to target opponent. So this is going to be a deck that's going to make these are going to be cards slotted straight into all the proliferate decks. Doubling season or doubling seasons cards are going to be going into this deck. This is a doubling season deck. Deathgreeter's Champion, a red and 1 for a 2/1. It has dash for 4, backup 1, has double strike, which is really good, especially that you can dash it to back up things and give things double strike and just keep doing it. Mirror Style Master, 2 red and 4 for a 3/3 with backup 1. Whenever this creature attacks, for each attacking modified creature you control, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy. Alright, so It seems to have maybe a modified theme. This is mainly backup, so if you have stuff that makes modified creatures do things, that would be a good thing to put in this deck as well. Path of the Pyromancer is a red and 4. Discard all cards in your hand, add 1 red for each card discard this way, then draw that many cards plus 1. That is insane. That's going to be another one of those cards that's going to be really good. The whole Path cycle is going to be a really good cycle, I think. We have Uncivil Unrest, red and 4. Non-token creature you control have Riot. Hell of an enchantment. If a creature you control, the +1/+1 counter on it would deal combat damage to a permanent or player. It deals double that damage instead. That is also good. Concave Clave Siege Captain, green and 5 for a 4/4 with backup 3 times. It has trample. Whenever the creature deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. So this will be something really good for that you might start seeing in token decks, just so you can be like, if you got 3 tokens, you cast this guy on 6, and if you can convoke him out, even better, because you can back up 3 things, give them all trample. Yeah. Emergent Wormwood, 6 and a green for a 4/4, backup 3. Whenever this creature attacks, look at the top X card of your library. X is its power. You may put a permanent card, mana value X or less, or among them on the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom. That's going to be another thing. That's pretty insane, especially since it's in green with ramp decks to do free casting. You can look at the top 7, and 7 mana will get you a lot of absurd things to happen. Guardian Scale Lord, white and 4 for a 3/4 backup 1. That's flying. Whenever this creature attacks, return target non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from the graveyard of the battlefield, or X is the creature's power. Again, this is good. Ichor Elixir, 4 colorless. If you would roll 1 or more planar dice, instead roll that many planar dice plus 1 and ignore 1. And it adds 2 colorless. That's okay at best. Alright, moving on. Next we have all of the planes that are going to be in these boxes. So I'm going to run through them real quick. Not going to talk about them a whole lot, but just know that every box should come with about 10, which is almost one of every plane. I think there's a little difference between all of them, as there's more than 10 here. But there you go. Just so you guys know. At least that's what's on the boxes. The box description, when it comes to what's in the box, it talks about one plane in particular per box. But there's going to be extra planes in the box from what I've seen on the product pages. So we'll see how that goes. So we have the Caldidia, creatures you control, creatures spells you cast from your hand have Blitz 3, which means you can cast your Blitz cost, gains haste. When the creature dies, you draw a card, sacrifice, beginning the next end step. And then you have Yunario. This is basically Zolfir. Beginning of your end step, if you planeswalked this turn, untap all your creatures, then phase out until a player planeswalks. Okay. We have the Ixalan one, which is obviously has Ascend because, Sitting's Blessing. But whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token, then draw a card if you have the City's Blessing. We have over here, Gargantkar. Each creature you control, mana value 2 or less, get +2/+2. Very interesting plane. Next we have the Abyss. Ooh, that sounds cool. When you planeswalk to the pit, each player creates their choice of a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying, or a 6/6 black demon creature token with flying, trample, and at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice another creature. If you can't, this creature deals 6 damage to you. Ooh, nice. Then we have Keldine. When you planeswalk to this one, at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 2/2 blue shape-shifting creature token with changeling. Okay, simple enough. We have Crydia. When you planeswalk here, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you mill 3 cards. When you planeswalk away, each player returns all land cards from the graveyard to the battlefield. Interesting way to ramp. We have Fioria. Whenever one more creature you control deal combat damage to a player, if there are no Monarch, you become the Monarch. Nice. So basically a Monarch card. We have Anastaria. I can't pronounce half these names, guys. I'm sorry. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, that player adds 1 mana of any type that land could produce. So it basically gives you double the mana. Kylem and Valor's Reach. Whenever your team attacks with exactly 2 creatures, those creatures gain double strike until end of turn. Okay. Ikoria. Whenever you planeswalk to it, and at the beginning of your upkeep, put a choice of Vigilance, Menace, or Trample counter on target creature you control. Whatever. And Amonkhet, each creature card in your graveyard has Embalm. Its Embalm cost is equal to its mana cost. If you didn't know, that's where you make a copy of it that is a 4/4 creature. Oh, it's not a 4/4 creature, it's just a copy. Wow, that's more powerful than normal. Normally, you just get a 4/4 creature that has the normal abilities. This one just gives you the creature copy, period. Wow. Uh, Gabu Khan, prevent all damage that would be dealt to creatures and planeswalkers you control. That's awful. That just means nobody's going to fight. Anyway, um, so next we have Ikayor. Whenever you planeswalk to the Enigma Ridges, each player who controls fewer lands than the player who controls the most lands searches their library for a number of basic land cards less than or equal to the number of the difference. Reveal them, put them into their hands, and shuffle. So basically, everybody gets a land tax. Wow. Then we have New Phyrexia. When you planeswalk to the Seed Core, chaos ensues. That's funny. Instant and sorcery spells players cast have demonstrate. Whenever the player casts an instant interrupt spell, they may copy it. If they do, they choose an opponent to also copy it. Okay, so Strixhaven is a little weird. I know I'm not going through all the chaos stuff because just not. Whenever you roll a die, put a +1/+1 counter up to one target creature. Okay. Whenever you planeswalk to the wilds, beginning of your upkeep, create a food token. Of course, that's Eldraine, Dominaria. Whenever a historic creature you control attacks, +2/+2. Okay. Kaladesh, beginning of your combat on your turn, and until end of turn, each non-creature, non-vehicle artifact you control becomes a 5/3 vehicle in addition to its other types and gains Trample, Haste, and Crew 2. Interesting. That's interesting for artifact decks. And then the final 5 here, we have Dominaria again, which is Riptide Island. When you planeswalk to the island, beginning of your upkeep, create 2 1/1 colorless sliver creature tokens. Interesting. We have Tarkir. Whenever you planeswalk to this one at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to bolster 3. And Alaria, artifact spells cost 1 less to cast. Fair enough. And then Theros, non-token creatures are enchantments in addition to other types. Constellation, whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, gain a life. That's going to make games go really long. And then Kamigawa, modified creatures you control have trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card. Woof. So those are the base for all of the planar cards. Obviously, Chaos does what it does. Feel free to go check those out. I don't want to hold you guys too long because we're just trying to do a quick overview of what's coming out in the Commander decks. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you found it at least entertaining and something to look at to give you all the information in one spot. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, be kind, and I hope to see you across from the game table.